today's episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone, we're going to review Impact Wrestling's final pay per view of 2020 and also Lucha Libre AAA's promotion's latest but the biggest event they normally put out every year. We're talking about Triplemania 28. All of that will be discussed and talked about on this episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up. 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 Get up, get up.
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling from AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, many promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. So let's get started with the first pay-per-view we're going to talk about. This is Impact Wrestling's Final Resolution, which is the last pay-per-view of 2020 before we start 2021. Some interesting matches they had in this one. We have the Impact World title on the line. We even have interesting matches they put out, and we're going to do that by going from start to finish. The first match is an old school match, which features Tommy Dreamer versus Larry D. Now, the stipulation on this one is this: it's a hardcore type of match, anything goes. But however, there's a stipulation during the match. As you know, Larry D, whose alter ego is known as Lawrence D, shot Johnny E. Bravo, and Tommy Dreamer, who is, of course, the resident cop, detective, attorney, judge, was determined to put Larry D behind bars. So basically, Larry D gave a perfect opportunity. How about he fights for his freedom on this particular match? So if he loses, he goes to jail. Now, if he wins, he gets his freedom. So the match went in exactly like any hardcore match, but however, anything goes. AC Romero shows up to ensure that Larry D wins, but however, they were confronted by the man that Lawrence D shot, Johnny E. Bravo, but it went into a really interesting story mode. But however, no one denies one of the true founders of hardcore wrestling. We're talking about Tommy Dreamer picking up the victory on this one. But however, before anything happened, he decides to handcuff Larry D because he knows he's going to jail. So, book him, Dreamer. Yeah, a little 5-0 reference right there. That never ends right there for me. Next thing we have is the surprise appearance once again from the AEW World Champion. We're talking about Kenny Omega. We do know he did appear on the last episode of Impact Wrestling, but he is scheduled to be appearing once again at this upcoming Tuesday's episode. So that's going to be an interesting to watch. Now, the next match is a tag team match. We have the Sea Stars, Ashley Vox, and I forgot what's her sister's name, her partner, versus Havoc and Nevaeh. Now, the Sea Stars have been the most top recognizable tag team in the independents, but however, they look like they're willing to step up a notch to go into the much bigger promotions like Impact. As you know, Impact has a stack of women in their promotion, so that is probably a good place for them. And not to mention, they did competed for the in the tournament for the Knockouts tag team titles that is still continuing on until Hard to Kill, which I'm excited for. But the match was alright. It did show that they were determined to win, but however, you cannot deny the teamwork and the cohesive of both Havoc and Nevaeh. They officially won this particular match. Now, as you know, recently in the entire Impact, Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steele stole the water cash. It originally belongs to Hernandez, but it was stolen by Falabal. And apparently, Hernandez wants it back. But however, it appears that Hogan and Tasha are a bit more don't know what to do. They want to keep it, but if I were them, I wouldn't cross Hernandez because come on, he's from the hood, if you know what I mean. Next match is a mixed tag team match. We have Tennille Dashwood teaming up with Caleb with the K, facing off Eddie Edwards and his wife Alicia. Now, however, I wasn't too fond of this one that much when I saw it because it was nothing compared like any of the mixed tag team matches that I've seen or intergender tag team matches because none of that this match has where Eddie Edwards touched Tennille that which was like punching her or kicking her, none of that. But there was a funny moment in this match where Eddie Edwards was right in the face of Tennille Dashwood, and Caleb with the K jumped in front of her, acting like he's taking a bullet. And you could hear the commentators laughing their butts off, knowing that it was too funny. But however, the match seems like it was going in Eddie Edwards and Alicia's way. But however, a foe of Eddie Edwards shows up. Well, he distracted them, allowing Tennille Dashwood to win the match. But however, post match, Sammy showed up and once again took out Eddie Edwards. He tried to take out Alicia Edwards, but luckily security were there to stop it. So Tennille Dashwood and Caleb with the K won the match. Now, as you know, I mentioned Kenny Omega did show up, so the interviewer tried to talk, but Don Callis wasn't up for it or feels that Kenny has no place in it. But the real question is, was he going to get himself involved in Final Resolution? However, it did not happen that way. Don Callis reassured the interviewer that it wasn't going to be like that. I forgot her name, but that's what he said out of his own words. Now, as you know about the whole thing with Kara Hogan Steels trying to give back the money, they decided to set up a stipulation. They put Hernandez and Falabella to compete. Whoever wins will get the money. But however, Steels and Hogan are involved. Hogan is the guest referee, while Steels is the ring announcer. So much of the entire time was a bit of a distraction. So they kind of try to ensure the Falabella doesn't win. But however, it did end up in Hernandez's favor. But I don't know what happened. They were about to give the money to Hernandez, but here's the thing. I don't know for sure if this was a setup or they try to hide the money from him. They seem like they want to keep it, but there's still the possibility that someone else took it. I don't know. We just got to wait and see because Hernandez has a bunch of knives or shanks that he's chasing them outside of the ring. So, I don't know what you girls did. You better run. Run for your life. Next match, we have Eric Young, the world-class maniac, once again sending a message to the entire Impact locker room saying that this world is not theirs, it belongs to him and Joe Dorian, who originally came from All Japan Pro Wrestling, facing off against Rhino. As you know, about a month ago, Rhino was trying to stop Joe Dorian and Eric Young from causing any more havoc to get in the way of Heath's recovery. They took him out, and he wanted some payback. The match seems like it was going either way into Eric Young's favor, but however, Joe Dorian did not do anything to interfere. He just stand right there watching. But however, the Deaners show up to save Rhino while the ref was knocked out. The biggest shocking happened is when Cody Deaner attacked his own cousin Jake. We don't know what it's about, and he told that he is not a nobody. Now, we don't know what is going on. There is the possibility that Cody Deaner is giving into what Eric Young has been talking about, believing that the world belongs to him. He thinks that he's here to cure Impact Wrestling from a disease, even though he's causing a lot of problems. So even though Eric Young took the victory thanks to what Cody Deaner did. So there's still unanswered questions what's going on with Cody Deaner. But however, it's Eric Young who won the match. Now, it appears we may be seeing a Bullet Club reunion. Yes, folks, a Bullet Club reunion. We just saw Carl Anderson, who's on the list to go see Kenny. So I don't know what's going on. But however, he did see him. They talked. They reminisce of him during his WrestleMania event, no, Wrestle Kingdom event that took place back a few years back in Wrestle Kingdom 12. Sorry about that. So anyway, so they reminisced that, but however, he had to get ready to go to a match to face Ethan Page. But Kenny told him, "Be the machine gun that I remembered." So basically, he's trying to turn him back into that one guy that he remembered back in New Japan. Now we have this interesting match, which is the X Division title on the line for the final Rohit challenge. Rohit Raju is putting his title on the line for one last time for an open challenge. He claims that he beat up everyone, but however, we saw someone familiar returned. Or should I say, the alter ego, Manik. Yes, folks, Manik showed up. Now, we all know who Manik is. If you guys don't follow TNA or Impact, you guys don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to tell you anyway. There have been many wrestlers who portrayed the character Suicide for many years. Here's who they had: Christopher Daniels, Frank Kazarian, Kiyoshi, Jonathan Gresham, TJP, Caleb Conley, then Zachary Wentz. However, TJP was amongst them being Suicide, but there was a moment he changed his name due to Hulk Hogan's reasoning, which is Manik. But when he joined a faction known as Revolution with James Storm and Sonata, he had a different look, which was iconic. So he went back to that iconic look. As you know, Manik did appear in the TNA 1 hour special that they put out after Impact, teaming with Suicide. And everybody knows who it is. We saw the tattoos. You recognize it's TJP. But the match was unbelievably good. I enjoyed how this one was showing how Manik was determined to win the title. But however, Rohit Raju is trying to prove that he is not a joke. Many people can say Rohit Raju weaseled his way in no matter what, that he finds the ways to ensure he stays as a champion. But however, this time it did not. It ended in Manik's favor. So he's not too pleased with the whole thing. Now the next interview we see is Moose. Moose, we all know what's going on in his head. He has an agenda against Rich Swann, but however, he still feels dissatisfied that nobody in the world is talking about him or the TNA World Title. Now, we all talked about this many times. The TNA World Title doesn't mean nothing anymore. We're Impact Wrestling, for Christ's sakes. But Moose feels that his title is more important than the Impact World Title. That to him is nothing more than a second-rate belt. However, the TNA title is nothing. There is no sanction for a team except for Moose. So he feels he's being ignored, that his title is being disrespected, similar to what's going on in AEW for the FTW. But he did give a warning to Rich Swann. Next match is for the Knockouts Championship between Rosemary, who has been a Knockouts champion, versus the current champion, Deonna Purrazzo. The match seems like it was going in either way with Rosemary or Deonna Purrazzo. But however, you cannot deny the fact that Deonna Purrazzo's second, Kimber Lee, got in the way and made sure it stayed in Deonna Purrazzo's favor. She pulled the ref to ensure Deonna remains a champion, but she won the match. But however, Kimber Lee decided to poke the bear, and that bear is none other than Taya Valkyrie. So it ended in that way. But however, we may see Taya Valkyrie once again maybe challenging for the Impact Knockouts Championship. So We'll see that when that come around. Next thing we have is the match between Ethan Page along with Josh Alexander versus one half of the Good Brothers and tag team champions Carl Anderson. Now, as you know, what's been happening with the Good Brothers in the North, Ethan Page admit that it was him who took out uh, the big LG, Luke Gallows or Doc Gallows. Carl Anderson knew it was him. He wasn't dumb. The match was so good it did tell the story on this one where Ethan Page has an ego that he cannot control, but however, the Good Brothers are always up for a fight no matter what. That's how it's always been for the Good Brothers. But however, it did not end well for Ethan Page, where he lost when he got gun stunned by the machine gun Carl Anderson. So machine gun Carl Anderson took the victory, but however, we're starting to see the beginning of the end of the North. Now, reason this is happening is I mentioned on the news updates that Ethan Page seems like he's ready to leave Impact Wrestling. The reports that they were planning for a negotiation for a renewal, it appears today I did find out it may not happen. Now let's jump into the main event. We got Impact World title on the line between challenger Chris Bay and their current champion, Rich Swann. This match was unbelievably good. As you know, these guys have X Division qualities, but they're also in the World Heavyweight World title implications. Amazing match. It did tell the story how Bay is determined to win this title, but as for Rich Swann, he had worked his whole life to get to the top after he was supposed to have been retired, but he came back. He obtained the title once again from Eric Young. But this match was so good, it did tell the story between them. And finally, it did end it in the favor of Rich Swann retaining the title. But however, it did not end there. We saw Moose showed up, hand him his title back. Now, keep in mind, Moose has an axe to grind with Rich Swann. To him, he feels the Impact World title is nothing more than the second rate. As for his title, it's the number one title in the Impact. So, but however, there is a little factor that they might forget. What about the AEW title? Kenny may want to collect the TNA World title. If I were you, Moose, I'd be more concerned with Kenny. So I think that's it right now with Impact Wrestling. So let's move on with Lucha Libre AAA's latest pay-per-view, Triplemania XXVIII. All right, let's talk about AAA's latest event, which is their version of WrestleMania, known as Triplemania 28. Now, this is one of their biggest shows every year, similar to Wrestle Kingdom, Slammiversary, those type of shows. So this one was particularly special because we had Kenny Omega putting the AAA Mega Championship, or as he liked to call it, the Omega Championship, on the line against Laredo Kid, who also serves as the AAA World Cruiserweight Champion. But that will be in the semi-main event because they had the hair versus hair match. But we'll go from start to finish on this one. I have to say this is a pretty good, interesting match with no audience and all that we've been seeing for the past couple months. But let's get started. The first match is a 6-man tag team match. We have the stable group known as Poder del Norte, or as it power from the north. We got Tito Santana, Mocho Cota Jr., and Carta Brava Jr. versus Mr. Iguana, Dinastia, and Maximo. This match was basically not one of those matches I normally pay attention because, I've always known the stable faction Poder del Norte has always been one of the most dominant force. But however, when it comes to guys like Mr. Iguana, Dinastia, and Maximo, they normally they always have wrestlers from who are not even stable factions, or they don't form factions of their own. But I wasn't too much sold on this. just saying it. But the Norte has once again has proven the most dominant force as a trios group, which they normally done. Now, next thing we have, as you know, early this year, the entire wrestling world was saddened with the passing of La Parca, who's been one of their top wrestlers for years, who literally had the company on his back. He carried the flag with him. He's the one guy that many fans love to watch. But sadly, he injured himself during a chaos of a wrestling show. Uh, the details is he made a mistake, hurt himself. People thought in their righteous minds that he would make a full recovery, but however, his injuries made things worse for him, and he died from it. And it was a huge blow for everyone, especially those like myself who grew up watching him. I actually met him one time during when I was working security at the sports arena. AAA was there doing a show. It wasn't a big show, but it was there. It was awesome. He even shook my hand. I was very happy because I love what he did. He always put a smile in my face whenever he does one of his jokes. But presenting the he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. All thanks to um, Maricela Peña and of course her son Dorian Rodan. Alongside, they have his son who's accepting this Hall of Fame on his behalf. Since we do know he is going to be probably is wrestling right now, so I think many fans like myself say he deserved it, he earned it, he paid his dues, and all that. Now let's jump in with a championship match. We have the AAA World Tag Team titles on the line. We have, for the challengers, a triple threat match. We have one team, Jinetes de Aire, consistent of Mistesis Jr. and Octagon Jr. versus Los Miseranos, Tejano Jr. and Rey Scorpion versus the current champions, none other than the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and his brother Ray Phoenix. Now, you ask yourselves, wait a minute, is it the Lucha Brothers with AEW? Yes, they are. They actually go back and forth between both promotions, but they haven't been they since the pandemic happened, they haven't been showing up recently. I know Penta has showed up when they were doing with the no fans for quite some time, but seeing them together was awesome. The match was kind of interesting because in some point the mercenaries took out Penta's foot to get him out of the way so they can find an easy way for themselves to win. They feel that those titles belong to them. But however, the match did not go exactly according to plan for the Mercenarios, the mercenaries. Penta showed up with a broken foot and able to pick up a victory for his team. But however, the mercenaries were not too thrilled, and apparently a third member of the mercenaries, someone we haven't seen for quite some time, we're talking about that big ox himself, uh, Taros, the guy who took out Cody last year, showed up. But all of a sudden, another member of the Jinetes de Aire showed up. I'm talking about Hijo de Vecino, who we haven't seen either for months. Now it appears that we're getting wrestlers we haven't seen for months since AAA were operating with no fans. Appears are coming back out of the blue, but they did show respect, the Jinetes de Aire, to the Lucha Brothers because they cannot stand the mercenaries, what they do. Now, the next match, this one is a first ever. Now, every year, AAA does this thing called the Copa de Triplemania, or the Triplemania Cup. But it's always been having only male wrestlers. But this year, it's different. They decided to have not only women's wrestlers, but also exoticos. Now, for you guys who don't know what that is, exoticos, you're probably saying, J-Rod, what is exoticos? That's the easiest question for me to answer. They're actually men that dress like women. Don't ask me why. That's always been like that. They always, in every Lucha Libre, there's always the Exoticos. They're kind of fun to watch. I do know one Exotico down in Japan, and that is Yusuke Santa Maria. He fits perfectly with that. But yeah, so let me go from how it starts with the first two wrestlers all the way down. We had Lady Maravilla versus Lady Shani. Then after that, every uh, the 60 seconds we had or something, we had different people. We have La Hydra, Fabi Apache, Mamba, Hades, Check Tormenta, Big Mami, and Pimpelena Escarlata. Now, each of these people were eliminated it was an over the top ring. However, the last two wrestlers must compete in a standard wrestling moves, which is one on one with the referee. The one referee who's there is this guy who always sides with the heels, or technical terms in Spanish, los rudos or rudas. So basically, it did not favor the rudas whatsoever. The winner of this match, and the first ever female to won the Copa Triplemania, or the Triplemania Cup, is Lady Shani. However, the celebration was cut very short when all of a sudden La Hydra showed up and attacked her. Then Fabi Apache showed up to give her a helping hand. But all of a sudden, we just saw the return of someone else we haven't seen. Like I said, many wrestlers who we haven't seen for months, even if they showed up in promotions, they just appeared. We're talking about Lady Flamer. We haven't seen her for quite some time. Then Hades showed up to give a helping hand. So basically, it looks like we're seeing, what's her name? Lady Marvella, La Hydra, and Lady Flamer forming a so-called women's faction. So it ended in that way. We don't know what's going on, but I'm assuming by the time we get closer and closer to what's going on, we'll see what these ladies have in mind. The next match is another six-man tag team match. We have one of my favorite trios group. We're talking about Psycho Circus, consistent of Psycho Clown, Murder Clown, and Monster Clown, facing off against Hijo de LA Park, Blue Demon Jr., and, of course, the chairman and the original La Parka, LA Park. This match was pretty interesting. It appears it was under the control of LA Park and his son and Blue Demon Jr. But however, near the end, it did not go exactly as planned. Like any other match, there's always ego involved. Excuse me. Come on. Go on, go on. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's my cat. She was sleeping earlier, but now she's back. So, don't ask me why she does that, but beats me. So anyway, where was I? So yeah. So anyway, Hijo de LA Park and Blue Demon were fighting each other who was gonna pick up the victory. Like I said, ego involved. So basically, if you know this, Blue Demon Jr. is a recognizable wrestler who his father is also recognizable too. But it did not go exactly to plan. Like I said, Blue Demon's ego got in the way and allowed for Psycho Clown to pick up the victory again on LA Park. But however, it appears that LA Park did not appreciate Blue Demon trying to put ego first above the match. So tension rose between both guys and they started fighting. Psycho Clown, all they can do is stand back and watch, laugh their butts off knowing that they're fighting each other. I mean, if it was me, I would have done the same thing too. Now, next match is a very interesting match. Now, about a few months ago, AAA announced of a new type of Lucha Libre edition. We're talking about the Marvel Lucha Libre. Basically, they're using characters from Marvel, and now it appears we just saw their very first match. They had wrestlers like the, the characters like Venom, or they call him in this one Vinodi Tero Popura, I'm not sure which character, versus Leyenda Americana, which is Captain America, and Aracno. So that is, of course, Spider Man. But however, I did find out who exactly is portraying what character. Uh, Venoid is being portrayed by Torres, who we already saw earlier. Um, Leyenda Americana is portrayed by none other than Daga, Aracano, Leo Rush, and of course, Tero Propura, the Machine, Brian Cage. It was an interesting thing what they were doing. I don't know why they decided to put this on a Triplemania event, but it was okay. But however, post match, when Veniodi and Tero Popura actually won the match, they got a visit from La Estrella Comica in the terms of the character Captain Marvel. So so basically, we don't know where they're gonna go with that. I'm kind of like a bit curious about it. Now let's get to the Mega Championship match between Kenny Omega and Laredo Kid. Now, Laredo Kid has for a second Hijo de Vico, while Kenny had none other than Michael Nakazawa. Yes, he was right there too. The match was pretty intense. Not to mention, as you know, there has been a lot of criticism about Kenny not defending the title too often. But however, this time he did. It was pretty much insane. But I'll skip to the end. Kenny pulled off an avalanche one wing angel. Yes, an avalanche one wing angel. That means he was on top of the turnbuckle and took out Laredo Kid. Now, the title was presented after the match by none other than the president of the Boxing and Wrestling Commission, El Fantasma. If you guys know this, he is the father of Santos Escobar, who is one of the current NXT stars and the current NXT Cruiserweight Champion. Now let's get to the other main event, hair versus hair match. Now, if you people don't know, why did they have a hair versus hair match? Well, if you lose your match, your head will be shaved off or cut off. This is a rivalry between two wrestlers who mostly been involved in hardcore matches. We're talking about Begano, who is a clown, and of course Chessman. Basically, these two hate each other, and they were using many ways to outbeat each other. Pagano had Lady Shani by his side as a second, while Chessman had one of the mercenaries by his side. I think he had Rey Scorpio. But the match was anything goes. But of course, Tejano showed up to fill the void to ensure that what's his name, Chessman won. But however, they were helped by none other than Octagon Jr. and Mystices. As you know, the rivalry with the Mercenaries is not over yet. They want to obtain the tag team titles, but we'll see how that goes with them. But something happened like near the end of the match. We saw the commentator Ugo. If you guys seen him, he actually talked with Cody when Cody made an appearance in AAA. Chessman whacked him with the guitar, kind of like a Jeff Jarrett style, and you can see him bleeding. Now, I don't know what prompted the whole thing with Chessman to do that. I thought it was pretty intense. But however, the match ended in Pagano's favor. He took the victory. They had to carry Chessman's carcass all the way back to the ring so they can cut and shave his head. So basically, Pagano took the victory. But the real question is this over between both men? That's an answer we're going to find out later. So I think we got everything covered right now for these two amazing pay-per-views with AAA and Impact Wrestling. So for now, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Leave a comment down below. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah, and have a nice day. Bang!